She still felt the buzzing in her head, relentless and unyielding. The scent of burning lingered in her nose, aggravating her senses further. This was the last thing she needed at the moment, yet, unbeknownst to her, her day was about to take a turn for the worst as a car pulled up beside her and rolled down the window. As she glanced at the person behind the wheel, her stomach churned uneasily. The morning had already been chaotic. Tina Jacobs' 5-year-old son, Kenneth, was already late for swimming practice, and the grocery list seemed to have grown longer and more costly than anticipated. To add to the frenzy, her 2-year-old Mary was wailing over her new socks, finding them uncomfortable. Being a single mom meant Tina bore the sole responsibility of shuttling the kids from one place to another and managing all the household chores. Juggling these tasks often felt like holding down 2 jobs simultaneously, leaving her feeling overwhelmed, even on the best of days. Today, however, had already started on a sour note, and little did she know, it was only going to deteriorate further. However, the rush didn't merely cease with the morning, it seeped into the afternoon as well, overwhelming her to the point where she felt like curling up in a ball and weeping. Numerous things seemed to be going awry in her life, from the mishap at the dry cleaners where they botched one of her shirts to the persistent delay in receiving her paycheck from work. Unfortunately, her streak of bad luck wasn't finished yet. If anything, it was just getting started. Frantically scanning her surroundings for the source of a foreboding noise, Tina suddenly felt an odd vibration ripple through her. It was as if she were traversing a field of jagged stones. When the sensation finally subsided, she was greeted by the unmistakable odor of burning rubber, causing her to wrinkle her nose in discomfort. What just happened? Tina wondered aloud as she flicked on her indicators, preparing to pull over. As she brought her car to a halt, a heavy sensation settled over her, and she braced herself for what was inevitably coming next. Peering out of the window, Tina emitted a long, defeated groan. She had blown a tire, leaving behind a scattered trail of unpleasant debris on the road. Yet, this was merely one of her predicaments. Racing through her options, Tina concluded that calling for roadside assistance was financially unfeasible, given her current situation with her overdue salary. She had no choice but to attempt to rectify the situation herself. She threw her head back inside before she hopped out of the car and headed toward the trunk. She was in the middle of nowhere, but someone was watching her. Tina opened the trunk, lifted the liner, and stared at the spare tire with a deep frown. In theory, it should have been easy to fix, but the rust on the bolt said otherwise. Anxiety built up in her chest. How was she going to do this? Suddenly, a loud honk made her jump out of her skin. Tina looked up to see someone had pulled in beside her. She stared at the scruffy man behind the wheel. He flashed a toothy grin and offered to help her out. On the outside, she smiled and politely declined, saying she had it under control. However, on the inside, something screamed that something was off, very off. Maybe it was just a general sense of caution most women developed, but the last thing she wanted was for him to get too close. He didn't accept her rejection and offered to help her again. Tina smiled and assured him that she got it. He stared at her, no doubt wondering if she was actually capable of changing the tire herself. To Tina, each second felt like an hour, then an abrupt noise. It was her cell phone. She answered it and talked confidently, as if it was a friend asking her where she was. But it was a telemarketer. Still, it was enough to drive the unwanted help away. He drove off, shouting horrible names at her as he left. Tina hung up the call and looked around. It was a close call, but what could she do now? She already saw another car hot on her tail. Her car stuck out like a sore thumb on the long dirt road surrounded by fields. She truly looked like a damsel in distress, and let's face it, she kind of was. If she saw a car like this, she'd probably pull over too, just like the large blue pickup truck that soon parked behind her. Freaked from the previous encounter, Tina pulled out her phone and braced herself. This man got right out of his car. He was tall, dark, and handsome. He towered over her and looked like he worked out. The fear grew in the pit of her stomach and twisted it hard. She got her camera ready and pressed the record button. You couldn't be too careful these days. The man had a sweet southern accent, but he didn't ask her if she needed help. Instead, he insisted. This man wasn't like the first. His smile was warm and seemed genuine. He offered to change the tire and dove straight in. Tina couldn't really say no. He was a man on a mission. He wore dirty jeans and her shirt. He drove a nice car and made light work of the tire. It wasn't long until the bolts were flying off like they were nothing. "How'd you get them off so easy?" she asked. The man chuckled and said, "Strong hands come with the job," he answered. She tried to offer him a bit of money to say thank you, but he declined. They talked for a while he put the new tire on, and she noticed something peculiar. She'd seen his shoes before. She spotted them in a boutique window a while back. Her brow furrowed as she recalled why she remembered them. They were expensive, very expensive. She looked at the handsome man sideways and wondered what he did. She felt it was too impolite to ask, so she said nothing. Instead, he wished her a nice day and then drove away. However, that wouldn't be the end of their chance meeting. Part of her still felt bad she wasn't able to give a better thank you, so she uploaded a picture with a simple note saying how much these acts of kindness meant. Her day had been terrible, but he made it a little better. The next day, she saw a note in the comments section that made her fall to the floor. "OMG, that's Luke Bryan," someone wrote. Luke Bryan is currently one of the biggest country stars today. It was also of no coincidence that he'd been in the area just when her accident occurred. It turned out that he owned property in the area. Tina broke down in a small suburban town in Tennessee, the home of country music, where a lot of big stars like Luke Bryan choose to live. Luke Bryan is best known for his songs "What Makes You Country," "Most People Are Good," and "One Margarita." For over a decade, he's remained one of the most successful and awarded country music artists. No wonder he didn't accept Tina's money. But online, people had more to say. Tina watched as a stream of comments poured in. Her heart pounded at the excitement of it all. Her post was getting more and more likes and engagements. From the rest of the comments, it seemed like acts of kindness weren't odd behavior for the country star. He was known to take time out of his busy lifestyle to help others. Tina watched in amazement as the story went viral. Tina watched, gobsmacked, as their small social media post of gratitude traveled its way through nearly every news and radio channel in America. Her lucky encounter spread across social media like wildfire. She was delighted. The kind man, who she knew to be Luke Bryan now, was getting the attention he deserved for helping her out. Even the mayor of Columbia, Chas Mulder, took to Twitter to commend Bryan for his generosity. "To express our gratitude, we'd like to honor you with a key to the city and appoint you as the Grand Marshal of the Columbia TN USA Christmas Parade alongside Santa. You've truly earned it." However, it was only a matter of time before Tina's post caught Bryan's attention. Tina had already become the object of envy for many across the nation, with countless people wishing Luke Bryan would come to their rescue. But Luke Bryan wasn't finished extending his kindness to Tina. When her post finally reached him, he left a comment underneath, engaging with her once more. "It was my pleasure, Tina. You have a beautiful family. I wish you all the best." Part of Tina felt foolish for not recognizing such a renowned figure, but she also understood that perhaps Bryan appreciated being treated like any other person. Above all, she was grateful for the opportunity to convey her thanks, and that, she knew, was what truly mattered. Tina also made a promise to herself she would pay it forward. Too often, people become consumed by their own worries and forget about others. The next time she encountered someone in need, she would extend a helping hand. "Thank you."